The T-Rex roar has recently came back to attention with the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer. But it isn't the only famous roar in cinema. For almost 70 years, the Godzilla roar has been an icon of monster films and movies in general. So today, we will be going over the legendary history of this iconic sound and how each decade had a new twist on the G-Man's vocals. Let's get to it. In the 50s, you can imagine that technology wasn't very stable for producing awesome monster sounds. The original Godzilla sound design team had plenty of struggles in developing the roar. They attempted over and over with animal sounds, but something just never really felt right about the sound. So they got creative. Japanese composer Akira Ifukube finally came up with a solution when he brought the idea of using musical instruments to the table. The team ended up using a double bass instrument and an old glove coated in pine tar resin. To create the legendary sound, the glove was rubbed across the bass's strings, and the rest was history. The Godzilla films that came out during the 60s and 70s really established the sound for Godzilla that would continue to be used all the way into today's films. The high pitch was really pushed to the forefront for the design of the roar. Using high-pitched buzzing sounds, the roar sounded like an electrical field of sorts. 80s Godzilla films took the biggest change yet to the design. The levels of sound were lowered, and the roar had much more bass and a deep, grinding sort of noise to it. A slight growl was also added to the roar to further push the idea that Godzilla was a real, animal-like being. This was an obvious attempt at bringing Godzilla into a more terrifying direction after some of the more cheesy films of the 70s. Godzilla and his roar took another direction in the 90s as the design was taken back a bit to sound more like the 70s roar. This didn't last too long though, as at the turn of the millennium the design was once again overhauled. After the American 98 Godzilla, it seemed like Toho wanted to show that the Japanese Godzilla was the true king of the monsters, so the design of the films took a much more serious and over-the-top approach, including his roar. The 2014 Godzilla sound roar creators have stated that they will never truly tell their secret of how they came up with this version of the roar, but they did give a few hints at how it was done. They used frictional noises like that of rusty car doors and rubbing the surface of a tom drum in different ways to add certain parts to the roar. Something really cool that they did as well was using the ambience created at a Rolling Stones concert to help add some feeling to the roar. The screams and yells of the Stones fans echoing between the giant buildings of the Burbank city really helped set the tone for the new roar for Godzilla in, giant city landscapes. And the finished project did not disappoint. So the two most recent Godzilla movies, that being Shin Godzilla and the upcoming Godzilla Monster Planet, they both have their own takes on the roars as well. But I don't think there's enough of a change to them to really really focus on them. The Shin Godzilla pretty much just sounds like the 90s Godzilla roars. And the Monster Planet roar, almost to me, sounds like the 98 Zilla roar the most, It just has that same sort of sound to it, but of course I haven't seen the movie itself yet. I'm just judging off of clips. So we will see on that here in the next couple months when it comes out on Netflix. The Godzilla roar will forever be a part of cinema, constantly adapting and changing, just like the G-Man himself. Please like and subscribe for more content like this if you think I've deserved it. And what do you think about Godzilla's roar over the decades? Do you think it's more iconic than the T-Rex roar? I'd love to hear what you have to say. So this has been Jacob. Peace out, residents.